Thank you so much for watching LandumC Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. In 1941, director Preston Sturges gave us a film that he wrote and directed called Sullivan's Travels. It stars Joel McCrea and Veronica Lake in the lead roles. The film received contrasting critical reception when it was released, but over time, this movie's reputation has improved tremendously. It's now classified as a classic and one of the finest movies about movies that's ever made. The storyline follows a successful movie director named John L. Sullivan, played by Joel McCrea, as he's convinced he won't be able to film his ambitious masterpiece until he has suffered what real down-and-out people experience. He dons a hobo disguise and sets off on a journey, aiming to know trouble firsthand, when all he ends up finding is a train ride back to Hollywood and a beautiful blonde companion played by Veronica Lake, who, by the way, during the whole movie, we don't know her name. She's just listed in the credits as the girl. Sullivan then redoubles his efforts and manages to land himself in more trouble than he had bargained for when he loses his memory and ends up a prisoner on a chain gang. Paramount purchased Sturges' script for the film for $6,000, and it said he wrote the movie as a response to the preaching that he found in other comedies, which seemed to have abandoned the fun in favor of the message. The movie begins with this dedication that comes across the screen: to the memory of those who made us laugh, the motley mountebanks, the clowns, the buffoons, in all times and in all nations, whose efforts have lightened our burden a little. This picture is affectionately dedicated. This was originally intended to be spoken by Sullivan himself, but instead it just appears on the screen. The director wrote the film with Joel McCrea in mind as the male lead, but he found the female lead, Veronica Lake, through the casting process. The project went into production on May 12, 1941, and it wrapped on July 22nd. Location shooting took place in Canoga Park, San Marino, and at the Lockheed Air Terminal. Cinematographer John Stites admired the director's unconventional approach to his work. You see, the opening scene comprised about 10 pages of dialogue to cover about 4.5 minutes of screen time. It was scheduled for 2 complete days of shooting. On the morning of the first day, the cinematographer found the director inspecting the set with a viewfinder, looking for where he could cut the scene and change camera setups. This same cinematographer dared him to do it all in one take. Never one to refuse a dare, Sturges took him up on it, although the nervous cinematographer had never attempted to complete a 2-day work schedule in 1 day. With the endorsement of McCrea and the rest of the actors, the director pressed on, determined to set a record. The first take was fine, but the camera wobbled a little in the tracking shot following the men from the screening room to the office, so they tried again. They ended up doing 2 or 3 takes at the most, and that was it. 2 full days of work were done by 11 a.m. on the first day, a feat that had the entire studio buzzing. Sturges had originally intended to use a clip from a Charlie Chaplin film for the church sequence, but Chaplin wouldn't allow it. He wouldn't give his permission for his film to be shown. They eventually had to ask Walt Disney for his permission to use a Mickey Mouse cartoon called Playful Pluto from 1934. It's said that lead Joel McCrea credited the director with instilling confidence in him and treating him as if he were a bigger star than Clark Gable was. Later in his life, McCrae said that he didn't know any other director that he had ever worked with that he had had so much fun. After the experience, he said that he would have done it for nothing. Now, the female lead, Veronica Lake, was 6 months pregnant at the beginning of production, a fact that she didn't disclose to Sturgis until filming had begun. He was furious at this, and according to Lake, he had to be physically restrained. He then consulted with her doctor to see if she would be able to perform the part, and then went on to hire the Tournament of Roses queen, Cheryl Walker, as Lake's double. Costume designer Edith Head was tasked with ways to conceal Lake's pregnancy, and she must have done a heck of a job, because I never noticed this the first time I saw the film. It was only after I started researching it that I found this out. Reportedly, Miss Lake was disliked by a few of her co-stars, and actually, McCrae refused to work with her again, and subsequently turned down a lead role with her in I Married a Witch. Veronica Lake was born Constance Okelman in November of 1922, and developed into a film, stage, and television actress that had tons of potential. Despite an enormous amount of initial success, she suffered a series of setbacks that ultimately derailed her career. It's said that after her third divorce, that she drifted between cheap hotels in New York City and was arrested several times for public drunkenness and disorderly conduct. In 1962, a New York Post reporter found her living in the all-women's Martha Washington Hotel in Manhattan, working as a waitress downstairs in its cocktail lounge. She was working under an assumed name. When she was approached by the reporter, she told him that the only reason she took the job was because she liked people and she liked to talk to them. This reporter's widely distributed story led to speculation that Lake was completely destitute. And after the story ran, fans of hers sent her money, which she immediately returned as a matter of pride. She vehemently denied that she was destitute, but you have to admit that she was definitely down on her luck and had slid down Hollywood's slippery slope of success. Go back and take a look at this great film. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.